Hello everyone, my name's Sunny, and I'm a Part 107 certified drone pilot. Today, I'm flying over Six Flags over Texas. So, being a coaster fan, I thought this would be a good opportunity to take a look at the new dive coaster, the construction. This is a little bit old, unfortunately. I didn't get time to get around to editing the video, but I thought I would throw it up here for all the coaster fans. This was back a little bit, probably about a month ago. Normally I would probably include something that old, but I thought it was interesting that they were trenching right down the middle of the new area there. Looks to me like, most likely that would seem like it was something for utility-wise. And my best thought was, why would they be putting utilities in the middle of a coaster? Most likely maybe a mid-course brake run, something like that. But they were trenching all the way up from the edge there, all the way down to the kind of the middle of the screen there. As you can see here today, I'm flying a little bit further away than it looks. My drone has a pretty nice zoom capabilities on it, so typically when I'm flying around parks and people like this, I'm not going to be flying that close to them. Just best rule of thumb is don't fly over crowds and large groups of people, and that's kind of the approach I take. I'm not going to fly over people. I'm not going to fly over rides that are in operation, and I typically go before the park opens. That's why you don't see any actual construction happening. This was on a Sunday morning. Typically I'm out there flying on Sunday mornings. Here you got a better look at the area. I thought it was interesting that they didn't fence off that inside park area. That was still open. Tells you there's probably not going to be any footers in that area, but both sides of it were fenced off. So either the park's flying over that or that area is not needed, but I'm sorry, the coaster is going to be flying over that or that area is not needed. Here, just zooming in on the old area where the bobsled used to be. Not much action going on here. Looks like they cleared the land where El Diablo and the bobsled used to be, but no new construction as of yet. I thought it was interesting here that they kind of graded that area down a little bit further than you would have expected, I guess. You can see the railroad tracks and why the railroad's not running this summer. Here from up above, you see a bunch of the steel. This is the rebar being used for all of the footers that are going in. That's quite a bit of rebar. Looks like they have even more coming. There are stacks of the rings. Basically what they're doing is they're building rings, and they hang it from tube. They're making tubes basically to put for the footers in the ground. Here you see some of the supports and some of the track pieces that have arrived. There's 8 track pieces here. A lot of the track is being staged across the street, which I will fly over that in a minute. Again, kind of early in the construction phase here. You see some footers going in. I'm leaving the footage in. Maybe people can pick up on things that I haven't picked up on. Here you see a lot more of the rebar tubes. That gives you an idea of all of the footers that are going to be needed to build this ride. Obviously, they have room for quite a bit more as well. There's a lot of steel that hasn't been constructed yet. A lot of concrete and a lot of drilling are in the future here. Here are some of the drills, the drill bits. But yeah, I'm not picking up on anything too crazy here. It looks like very organized. A layout from a construction standpoint, though. It's going to be fascinating to see what the layout finally looks like for this ride. Being a roller coaster fan, I know a lot of people aren't very excited that it's a dive coaster, but I think I like dive coasters, so I'm very excited. Here you can see some footers that have been poured already. You can see the rebar sticking up there. And here you can see the trench that they were digging on this date. Fast forwarding here in a second, you'll see a little bit more around how this transpires in the future. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to know if they actually leave this as a parking lot coaster or if they, move on to something else like actually theming around the supports. God forbid we plant some grass underneath the roller coaster. I was hoping when I first heard about this dive coaster that it would be potentially diving underneath a new entrance to Six Flags. I thought that would have been a nice opportunity here to really revitalize the park by having an entrance here on the corner and having the coaster dive underneath it. Doesn't look like that's going to happen, though. They would have already been trenching, I think, if it was going to do something so unique as to dive. To dive under the entrance. But yeah, there's a good shot right there of the. And like I said, I don't fly over rides when they're testing. I'm quite a ways away here. But the Titan was starting to test early in the morning with empty trains, which is probably about what the time I called it a day. So it's always fun to see Titan running though, with the new colors. Such a unique hyper coaster. I hate to say it's not my favorite, but I'm not a big fan of those helixes, to be honest. But it's a nice first drop. I think they tried to make that coaster just too much energy and too small of a footprint. Fast forwarding now, let's go to July 20th. It's like a week ago. I was out there looking to see all the new pieces that have arrived in the staging lot next door. Here you'll see a lot of the extraneous pieces, I should say. See a lot of supports, a lot of. I think this is like part of the support for the catwalk for the lift hill, potentially. And over here you're going to see some other part of the lift hill for the supports. And you have, whenever I get there, some of the handrails and whatnot. Basically non-track and non-support related metals. So I think that would be considered like your stairs and whatnot. I think the very top up there you see some of the stairs and some of the catwalks that will go around the top of the dive coaster. Panning here a little bit to the right, and you're going to see a lot of the track. That piece right there in the bottom left, I'm pretty sure is the brake run, because you can see how it kind of angles up there, which it probably is not angling up. It's probably leveling off after a downhill run. So I'm thinking B&M typically has a kind of a downward slope for the brake run. I was trying to see if there was any kind of labels or anything, but they've all been painted. But yeah, I think that's obviously those are the brakes there. probably going downhill into the station. As far as pieces go, most of these pieces are pretty nondescript, I guess you could say. Kind of curious what that one there is with the wheels. Obviously, the motors are going to be something to push a car along. Maybe it's something right before the brake run as well, because typically they, other dive coasters, they like to use those motors to push you into the station. And you also see some other brakes up there at the top. So quite a few brake pieces. I think there's one interesting piece here that, if I remember right, I go and check out a little bit more. That piece right there looks like it would be a vertical piece, potentially part of the dive. And the reason I say that is that support piece right there probably is going to be something heading to, downward vertically. But yeah, nothing too interesting here. I don't know why I make this video so long. I don't know. Some people might care about this, some people might not. I'm just here to show the track, see what's out there. Obviously more brakes and more drive tires. If there's any coaster experts that have worked on B&Ms that maybe can shed a light on some of the stuff they're seeing here, that would be cool. You can comment below. Obviously over here, a lot more supports, a lot more track. These supports are massive, by the way. I'm zoomed way in. I'm quite a ways away. But yeah, there's what's out there in the staging area. I was trying to count the pieces of track, but it's getting quite a few now. Curious to see how many pieces of track this really is if you think about it. I think I've counted somewhere around 29 pieces have showed up so far, so. Let's take a quick flight. I've heard over here by Titan, on the other side of the park, there's actually some lift hill segments. So I think I take a quick flight over here to see if the lift hill is there, and sure enough, there is definitely lift hill pieces there. I think it's interesting also that there is 4 very long lift hill pieces that I think are in the 60-foot range. That's a smaller one. Parking spots are usually about 8.5 feet wide. So counting the parking lot spaces next to these, I've ascertained that, it's 8 or 9 parking spaces wide. So this piece is interesting to me because it looks like that's going to go vertical. That little nodule on the bottom usually is pointing to the fact that it goes into a support. So I would think that nodule usually means, typically they put them in concrete. I would love for someone to confirm that or not, but yeah, flying over the site here to see now on the 20th of July where we're at here. Yeah, I think this is one shot, by the way. I recorded this flight path here. This is one flight path that I might fly this every week just to see how it actually looks. I think this kind of screwed up on me, the flight pattern did. I was trying to program a flight, but I'll come back to it here in a second. I think it's interesting some of the EV charging spots are still there and they haven't bothered to remove those. Kind of makes me think they're not going to be removing them, which makes me think this is a parking lot coaster, which I think I have higher expectations for. But now we're getting somewhere, right? You see some footers here, squared off footers with actual bolts there. I think there they got some more footers that are becoming more visible now a month later. They've also seemed to have torn up some more of the concrete, so that's interesting to me that maybe it's not going to be a total parking lot coaster. And by the way, my understanding is these pours for footers are multiple pours. Obviously, you have to drill, place your rebar, fill the hole with concrete, but then there's a top cap that goes on top of each footer. And a lot of these are just the first pour, basically. I'm thinking that these 4 footers here are going to have one big square top cap around them. I'm interested to see how they do that. I really do think that they're going to put one big mammoth square piece of concrete on top of all 4 of those. Obviously, they're not done. Over here, you have 2 more very large footers. It looks like the concrete has been poured and they're pulling up the form right there. Can't really tell much from the layout though from where the footers are. B&Ms typically have very unique footer patterns that don't really give away anything. So I wouldn't expect to be able to tell too much from just the footers. Here, zooming in on the old bobsled area, I think you see some red marks here periodically, which I think more footers are going to go into. But generally speaking, you don't really see too much construction on that area now. I've heard in the last week there has been some more drilling over in this area, so I'll head back out there this Sunday, and we'll see what they've done in the last 2 weeks. I typically go out there every other Sunday. When we start to see vertical construction, maybe I'll go out there more often. So, but yeah, here you see there's still a lot of steel, which means a lot more footers and a lot more. And you see the rings piled up there, which means they have to make more footers. So quite a bit of stuff here still to go. So as I get closer to calling it a day now, final thoughts here on this video. Hope you enjoyed this. A lot of work went into recording out here a couple times. If you want to see more, please like, subscribe, comment. You make these videos in a vacuum and you don't know how they're going to turn out. You don't know who's going to really care about this level of detail in the construction. I'm always a construction fan, so it's always fun for me to go and see what's going on, if nothing else. But I do it for everyone else as well, so please let me know what you think. I'm going to leave you here with a couple of shots that I'm going to try to do these 2 shots every week. Here the drone's getting in place to run a set program, so I think we'll call it a week. And like and subscribe if you want to see more.